بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه من والاه أما بعد. So continuing the sharh of Riyadh Al-Saliheen by Shaykh Abdul Aziz ibn Baz and Fawaid من شرح Shaykh Muhammad ibn Salih Al-Uthaymin rahimahumullah ta'ala. We're still reading from Shaykh Uthaymeen's part where he's speaking about the conditions of traveling to the lands of disbelief from the lands of Islam. The conditions of traveling to the lands of kufr from the lands of Islam. And before that, I want to remind everybody that tomorrow is Ashura, that everybody's encouraged and it's highly recommended to fast for the one who's able to fast. And as is known, that fasting on Yom Ashura, as the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned that a person's sins are forgiven for years, previous sins are forgiven. And the Prophet ﷺ, as Ibn Abbas, he said in the Hadith in Bukhari that he wouldn't. That the Prophet ﷺ, I did not see him striving to fast, a voluntary fast, more than the day of Ashura. And know that the day of Ashura is the 10th of Muharram. And it's the day that Allah Azza wa Jal saved Musa alayhi salam from the Taghiya Fir'aun, and the Junood of Fir'aun. And we fast on this day, thanking, as it's come in a hadith, as it's come in an authentic narration, thanking Allah Azza wa Jal for saving His Prophet Musa, the mighty Prophet Musa alayhi salatu wassalam. And likewise, when the Prophet Muhammad came to Al-Madinah and he saw that the Jews were fasting on the day of Ashura, and he asked, what is this? And they said, this is a good day, this is a great day. And this is the day that Allah Azza wa Jal, He saved Bani Israel from their enemy. And so Musa fasted. So then the Prophet Muhammad replied to them and said, فَأَنَّا أَحَقُّ بِمُوسَى مِنْكُمْ. So I am more deserving of Musa than you are. So he fasted it and commanded the Sahaba to likewise fast it. And it's the time, you fast the day before, the 9th of Muharram, and likewise the 10th of Muharram, or you can fast in Muharram by itself. Naam. And this is a day of fasting. And it's not a day like the Rafidah beating themselves. It's not a day of making specific foods. It's not a day where you wear black and you grieve and you're sad. It's not a day in which a person shows, like the Rafidah they do. They show grief. It's not a day to show grief. It's a day in which you fast because the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he fasted. And I came across something today. If I can still find it, I had it with me earlier. Allah al-Musta'an, I don't have it anymore. But it was from the Rafidah. And the Rafidah, they were speaking about that which they do and that which the correct things to do on Ashura. And from that was to show grief. And from that was to do these rituals of paganism that they do. And alhamdulillah, from the ni'mah of Allah upon us is that we don't disgrace ourselves like they do, crawl into graves. And you find them wearing all black, crawl into the grave of Hussein. In Karbala, crawling on all fours. Alhamdulillah, we do not disgrace ourselves for the creation. Rather, we worship Allah Azza wa Jal. And you find these same Rafida Shia who can innovate many celebrations. And from them is this day of Ashura, which they beat themselves and cut themselves and wear all black. And likewise, you find them not on this day but other days going to the grave or to the shrine of Abu Lu'lu al-Majusi. They call Baba Shuja' ad-Din, the one who killed Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu, who was a Persian fire worshipper. And they glorify him, they worship him, they make tawaf around his grave. And you can see the videos of this on YouTube, it's there. And so this day has nothing to do with the killing of Al-Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Hussein is free of the Rafidah are free of him, and we're free of the Rafidah. That this day has nothing to do with being sad or grieving. This is the day in which we thank Allah Azza wa Jal that Allah saved Musa alayhi salam from the batsh of Fir'aun and the junood of Fir'aun, the army of Fir'aun. And we fast, thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Naam. So continuing, Riyadh As-Saliheen, Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah, where he mentioned the conditions of traveling to the lands of Kufr, that he mentions not permissible for a person to travel except with three conditions. A quick recap. The first condition is that a Muslim has to have knowledge to be able to repel the doubts. That if a Muslim is traveling to lands of Kufr, whether it be America, whether it be England, whether it be Sweden, whether it be Finland, whether it be any land from the lands of Kufr, if a person is traveling to them, then you must have ilm, you must have knowledge of Islam. And likewise, knowledge of that which they're calling you, that which is there, to be able to repel the doubts they come with, because it's known that the kuffar, they come with nothing but doubts. And the second condition is that person must be practicing. He must be mutadayyin, he must have deen with him in order to repel the desires. Because it's not sufficient that a person has knowledge, and it's not sufficient that a person is only practicing. Right? You must be practicing and have knowledge. Because your knowledge repel the doubts, and your religiosity, your practicing of the religion, your uprightness, will repel the desires, inshallah. And number three, that there must be actual need. That when you're traveling to lands of kufr, that there must be a need. That there must be, for example, you're going to seek cure. You're going to a hospital for a specific cure that you cannot find in the lands of Islam. Or the specific kind of knowledge that a person is going to seek. There's a specific kind of knowledge that a person is going to seek, and he's going to, in the lands of kufr, that cannot be found in the lands of Islam. And this isn't, for example, a person going to seek knowledge of communism and socialism or democracy, or he's going to go seek knowledge of the system of the kuffar to glorify Allah. It's a specific kind of knowledge the Muslims are in need of, that they cannot find except in the lands of kufr, and they can come take back to the Islamic lands to benefit them. And not that he's going to the lands of kufr to learn their ways and their traditions and their norms and their customs, and even the way they eat and all that, and he'll go back to the lands of Islam and teach them this and say this is advancement. Abadan. Not like that. Tayyib. So the Shaykh, he says, this was a recap, now we're continuing. He says that when the Muslims, they go to these lands of the kuffar, he mentions, لهذا أرى أن الذين يسافرون إلى بلد الكفر من أجل السياحة فقط أرى أنهم آثمون. Subhanallah. He said that I hold the opinion. It's kalam qawi, it's a strong speech from the scholar, from the famous scholar, the firm grounded faqih, muhaddith, Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala. He said, I see that those that travel to the lands of kufr for tourism only, just for the purpose of tourism. How many times you find that? A guy going from the lands of Islam, pink shirt, sunglasses, pants, shorts above his knees, and he trying to fit in with somebody. He said, if I see that the people go into lands of disbelief for tourism only, I see that they're sinful. They're sinful. وَأَنَّ كُلَّ قِرَشٍ يَصْرِفُونَهُ لِهَذَا السَّفَرِ فإنه حرام عليهم وإداعة لمالهم وسيحاسبون عنه يوم القيامة. He said that every single penny, we're going to say penny, every single penny that they spend on this journey here, it's haram upon them, it's haram for them to do so, and it's considered wasting wealth, and they will be called to account for this on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Hina, the Shaykh, he said, whereas they couldn't find any place to go to go travel to, any place to go for any type of recreational purposes. Huh? حين لا يجدون إلا أعمالهم. يعني يوم القيامة they're not going to find except their actions. They're not going to find nothing in front of them except their actions, meaning that they're going to be called to account. They had no other place to go except these places. They know on Yawm al-Qiyamah, when they're called to account, that they're going to be called to account for every single thing. Every penny they spend is haram, and they're not going to find except their actions. So meaning, that which they spent on this travel to lands of kufr is haram, and they're going to see that on Yawm al-Qiyamah. They're going to see that on Yawm al-Qiyamah. لأن هؤلاء يضيعون أوقاتهم, because they're wasting their time, ruining their wealth, corrupting their morality, and perhaps, and this is a fact, this is a fact. And wallahi, think about this. How many years ago was this? And perhaps they have their family with them. They have their families with them. Yani when you come to the lands of Islam especially, and you're traveling to the lands of kufr, you have to understand, they do not see what we see a lot of times, for example. Meaning that those that grow up, obviously, unless the person is a person of knowledge or he has aqeedah and he fulfills the conditions, then he has an insight which Allah gives him. We're talking about people that just go to travel. They want to go and for make a YouTube video. They want to go, and today you see a lot of them going out making documentaries or vlogs or these type of things, or just to go to this store and that store, and they want to go see this place and that place. They don't see what we see, meaning that we grew up there. You go to their elementary schools, their middle schools, their high schools. You mix with them, their colleges. Yeah, and you may grow up at times and you're not practicing. You may have friends that are kuffar at time. Mix with them. Go to the houses. They come to your houses. So you see how things really are. You see how they really talk. You see how their families really function. You see how life really is on the inside. So when you're traveling to wherever you're traveling to, you're not fooled by that which the people that come from the Muslim lands are fooled by. They're not fooled by it. Huh? So it's more dangerous for them when they come, because they don't know the reality. All they see is the glitter, and all they see is the makeup. But as for those who grow up there, and their fitrah is still somewhat intact, they can see beyond the makeup. Beyond the glitter, they can see beyond the mask that they wear. What really is happening, what's really going on, how the life truly is. Huh? So the Shaykh, he says, that وَمِنْ أَجَبٍ, that which is strange is that these people, they go to lands of kufr in which you do not hear a mu'adhin, nor a person making dhikr. You don't hear the adhan. And the adhan has a tremendous effect, wallah. Has tremendous effect. And you visit lands of Islam and you hear the adhan, it's an amazing thing. Lands of kufr, you're not going to hear the adhan. You hear the horn of the Jews and the bells of the Christians, and then a person stays here with his family or their families, their boys and their girls, their sons and their daughters, and much evil takes place because of this, no doubt. نسأل الله العافية والسلامة. So the Shaykh, he says, هذا من البلاء الذي يحل الله به النكبات والنكبات التي تأتينا التي نحن نعيشها كلها بسبب الذنوب والمعاصي. That he says, this is from the calamities which Allah sends down upon us, calamities which come down upon us, calamities which we live through. All of these calamities take place and befall us because of our sins, because of our disobedience. The Shaykh, he says, like Allah says in the Quran, وَمَا أَصَابَكُم مِّن مُّصِيبَةٍ فَبِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِيكُمْ وَيَعْفُو عَن كَثِيرٍ. And no calamity befalls you except because of what your own hands have earned, and Allah pardons much. نحن, he says, we're heedless. We feel safe in our lands. كَأَنَّ رَبَّنَا غَافِلٌ عَنَّا. And we act as if our Lord is heedless of us. He's not aware of that which we're doing. As if He doesn't know. كأنه لا يملي للظالم حتى إذا أخذه لم يفلته. As if, they act as if Allah doesn't give some respite to the oppressor, that once He seizes him with the punishment, He doesn't let him go. And this is how the people they act. You find them doing that which they're doing, going to all kinds of places, knowing that place is full of dhunub, full of disobedience, full of fujur, full of wickedness, full of nudity, full of haram, and you're taking your girls there and your boys there, and the people act as if Allah is not aware of this. Yeah, and the people act as if Allah doesn't give the oppressor some type of respite, but once He seizes him with a punishment, He's not let him go. The Shaykh, he says that the people are living in these events that are taking place. ولكن قلوبهم قاسية والعياذ بالله. But their hearts are hard. Their hearts are hard, hardened. والعياذ بالله. Allah says in the Quran, وَلَقَدْ أَخَذْنَاهُمْ بِالْعَذَابِ فَمَا اسْتَكَانُوا لِرَبِّهِمْ وَمَا يَتَضَرَّعُونَ. Allah says, and we've seized them with a severe punishment. But they did not humble themselves to their Lord, and nor did they invoke Him, nor did they beseech their Lord, Allah Azza wa Jal, that we seized them with a punishment. The punishment came down upon them. And even though the punishment came down upon them, then the people did not humble themselves to Allah. They did not beseech Him, make dua to Him humbly. وَمَا خَافُوا مِنْ سَطْوَتِهِ وَلَكِنْ قَسَتِ الْقُلُوبِ. They didn't fear their Lord, fear His punishment. This is because the hearts have been hardened. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ نَسْأَلَ اللَّهَ الْعَافِيَةِ. And it's a fact that when these fitna they take place, and the punishment of Allah can be in your family. And a person goes dar kufr, praises the kuffar day and night, praises the way they may have their road systems, the way they may have the traffic systems. In Egypt, for example, and they're not going to have red lights. We don't see them. Left turns, right turns, whenever they want. U-turns, wherever you want. Drive on the wrong side of the road, no problem. Reverse on the freeways, no big deal. Right? So when the people, they come and they see, they say, so look at these guys, they're backwards. Muslims, that when they go to lands of kufr, they begin to praise this. And to the extent where they praise the kuffar themselves in front of their children. And eventually, wallah, that can be detrimental to the deen of your children. And we see that here. And even some of the children that come here to the Islamic schools, and you find them the other day, one of them praising America. I want to go back to America. Parents Salafi. Wallah, parents Salafi. I love America, or America this, to the point where the Shaykh had to reprimand him. And the teacher, and likewise, had to go in and kind of, translate for the Shaykh coming from America. But this is the problem that you have today. And it's a danger. It may seem like something small, but it has an effect. And the people have to be careful that this could be the punishment which Allah sends upon the people, that when they glorify the lands of kufr, and when they glorify them, and they glorify them from the angle of their sports, their dunya, their clothing, their stores, their food, glorifying them, bi-ashkhasihim, by their ways and their individuals, and glorifying their lifestyles, wallah, it can be detrimental to your deen, your children's deen, and everything else. So the Shaykh, he says, مَا تَدْخُلُ, that the hearts are dead, to the extent where when these events, these things which are taking place to the Muslims, they pass by, as if it's nothing. They just pass by. The hearts are hardened, نَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنْ مَوْتِ الْقَلْبِ وَقَسْوَتِهِ, that we seek refuge from a dead heart and a hard heart. That if the people were in their right state of mind, they had this Islamic awakening, their hearts were alive, then the state of affairs that the Muslims are in today, it wouldn't be the case. We would not be in this case today if our hearts were alive. We had an Islamic awakening, because the people must know that the last stand, that which is standing in between whatever the kuffar want, whatever the Jews want, because it's known that the Yahud, for the most part, in a lot of affairs, run a lot of the world. When I say run the world, I don't mean from the angle of controlling the weather and they control. I'm talking about when it comes to certain events, it's known that the Freemasons are the Yahud, and it's known that they run certain industries, and it's known that they start certain wars. And it's known that they advertise certain advertisements, and it's known that they bring certain ideologies in. That's like they give riba to the non-Jew to crush the non-Jew and not to each other. And it's known that they promote fisq and fujur amongst people. It's known, it's something well known. Huh? And it's known that that which stands in the way of them and their ideologies and their plots and their plans is that Islam. And it's known that that Islam which stands in their way is not Tablighiyah, and it's not a Sufiyah, and it's not Rafd and Shi'iyah, it's not Hizb al-Ikhwan al-Muslimin, it's As-Salafiyah, Deen al-Haqq al-Kitaban wa Sunnah. That is the book and the Sunnah that stands in their ways, no doubt about that. If the Muslims had a true Islamic awakening, then it's known that they wouldn't be able to do this. A brother told me, he's Palestinian, and he told me that he went to Palestine. He's Palestinian himself, back in California. When I was sitting with him in the masjid, preparing for a dars, he was talking to me, and he said that he went to Palestine. He's Palestinian, and he was trying to get into Masjid al-Aqsa in occupied Palestine. And he said the Zionist Jewish soldier, at their checkpoints, they were checking them, and they were saying to them, look, because there are people protesting. He said that these people are out of protest, we don't fear them. He said this is what he told me himself, that the Jewish soldier told him that if the people out here in the numbers there are protesting, if they were like this in the masjid for Fajr, then we fear them. Listen to this again. The Jewish soldier, قاتلهم الله نسأل الله أن يطهر الأراضي الفلسطينية من اليهود والدناسيهم. So we ask Allah to purify Palestine, all of it, from the Yahud and the filth of the Yahud. We ask Allah to guide the Muslims and to strengthen them. But he said that if the Jewish soldier said this to the Palestinian, and he told me this himself, that if the people who are protesting in these great numbers outside here right now, if the same numbers were in the masjid during Salatul Fajr, we'd fear them then. Why? Because if they were practicing their religion, then they know, one, that Allah will send their victory upon them. And number two, the Hizbiyah, the different groups that you have today, wouldn't split them. That they will stand firm upon one aqeedah, one manhaj, in the face of the oppression of the Yahud. Now, so the Shaykh continues, he says, that the condition we're in today, Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen, he says, مع أننا في وضع نعتبر أننا في حال حرب مدمرة مهلكة، حرب غازات الأعصاب والجنود وغير ذلك. He said the condition that we're in today, then the condition is to be considered as a condition of war, meaning that the Muslim being waged war against, no doubt, destructive, deadly war, also a war of chemical warfare, and nerve agents and the likes of these things, soldiers, the war is being waged against the Muslims on many different fronts, by way of soldiers, by way of chemical warfare, by way of this and different means against the Muslims. The Shaykh says, even with this here, with the state that we're in today, right? Nobody's moving a muscle. Nobody's lifting a finger. The Shaykh saying this, ما هذا لا تجد أحدا حرك ساكنا إلا إن شاء الله. You find nobody moving a finger except the one whom Allah wills. Moving a finger, he doesn't mean like some of the people, the bid'ah, they're protesting for this country, that country, taking off their shirt and throwing it, like it's going to do something. Like you're the one they fear. But when people have to rise, return back to their religion, purify their ranks from bid'ah, purify their ranks from kufr and shirk and secularism, rise, stand upon Allah's deen, and inshallah the victory of Allah, the aid of Allah will come. Now, so the Shaykh, he says, هذا لا شك أنه خطأ إن أناسا في هذه الظروف العصيبة ذهبوا بأهليهم يتنزهون في بلاد الكفر وفي بلاد الفسق وفي بلاد الوجور والعياذ بالله. He said this is a mistake, that you have people in these conditions that we're in today. This was back then, and it's not better today. Huh? In these difficult conditions, traveling with their families, chilling, traveling with their families to go for tourism and just to go relax and relax at these things in the lands of kufr, the lands of sin, the lands of immorality, wal-iyadu billah. And that goes that even if you're in the lands of kufr, wallah, it breaks the heart when you find Muslims that go to with their families and especially with their daughters to water parks, the summertime. When you see Muslim women with scarves, and because that was scarves or abayas or even jilbabs, in a place with fisk and fujur, and women with bikinis and men with no t-shirts and with shorts up to their thighs and awrat are exposed, and you're looking at that, and a Muslim woman looking at other women and looking at other men, and wallahi, it affects the heart. These are sins which affect the heart. Likewise, Muslims taking their children to the likes of Disneyland, a place of filth, and fujur. Only if you knew the plots of Disney and that which they promote in their movies, and that which they promote, and the fisk that he promotes, and the Masonic agenda he had, and he is upon, and they're upon. And Disneyland, a place of filth, no doubt. Or you find the Muslims with their families and with their children going to basketball, football games, soccer games, whichever football you want to call it, American football or football, you want to call it soccer, you want to call it football, whatever. Place where alcohol is there, music is there, women are drunk, men are drunk, dancing, cursing, you're mixing with them, your women folk are there, your children are there, these are the type of places you're taking them. Similar hukum, there's no difference between it. But likewise, when you take your children or you go with your Muslim women to places such as in America, 4th of July events, where they're kicking up fireworks for Independence Day of the Kuffar, and they're all there having a good time, Kuffar dancing. You know how they get when they get drunk, and how they dress. And 4th of July is summertime, and what they wear, how they dress, what they eat, it has an effect. Don't think these things don't affect the person. They affect a person in a big way. In a big way, and it feels like a betrayal, and it hurts the heart that the Muslims participate in the likes of these events, taking their children to the movies, and the likes of these places. It's a khata, it's a mistake. It's a big mistake. So the Shaykh, he says, however, والسفر إلى بلاد الكفر للدعوة يجوز إذا كان له أثر وتأثير هناك فإنه جائز. That traveling to the lands of the disbelievers when it comes to da'wah is allowed. If this person who's traveling has an effect, he has an effectiveness, an effect upon the people there, then it's allowed. It's like Shaykh Sulaiman al-Ruhaili, who's traveled to England, the land of kufr. And you had people who claimed Salafiyya, who were trying to block a Salafi scholar from giving da'wah in the lands of kufr, as if England is a land of Islam and Tawheed and Sunnah is widespread, and we don't know the lead of ulama, wal-iyadu billah, and karam, which is ghareeb. You kind of Salafiyya is an alim, and his ilm is mashhur, his ilm is well known, mashhur, and is testified for his knowledge, and you can see his tariqatul da'wah is the way he gives da'wah, the topics he speaks about, the usul that he comes with is well known. But you have people trying to block him in the lands of kufr, which is sad. So the Shaykh, he says it's allowed, because it's traveling for a benefit. And the lands of kufr, they're common folk, ummi alayhim al-Islam. And no doubt Islam has been, the true Islam is distorted for them, is hidden from them. Obviously not every single individual, but A lot of them don't know anything about Islam. بل قد دللوا وقيل لهم إن الإسلام دين وحشية وهمجية ورعاء. يعني that it's said to them, these kuffar, and they could be led astray, obviously by the media. Other than the media, that Islam is a religion of is barbaric, and it's a religion of the riffraff, and a religion of these type of things, as the media portrays, right wing, left wing, all wings. Especially when the West hears about certain events which take place by certain individuals, and they say, they claim to be Muslims. They say, for example, ISIS and the likes of ISIS, and the kuffar, they come and they say, where's Islam? هذه وحشية, this is barbaric. These are barbaric animals, beasts, attacking each other, eating each other. So then the people flee from Islam because of the actions of the Muslims. نسأل الله أن يهدينا جميعا صراط المستقيم. Likewise, like the Shaykh Khalid said today in the dars he gave after Dhuhr, also at the same time you have the Rafida Shia, who make the people who claim Islam, but Islam is free of them, who make the people free from Islam when the kuffar see them beating themselves, and they see them cutting themselves, and they see blood dripping from their heads and their backs, and likewise the children, and they say this is Islam, and they say this is barbaric, we're free of this, we want nothing to do with this. These people also distort Islam, no doubt, no doubt. طيب. So al-qism al-thani, the second category of boycott that we mentioned, that the types of hijrah, of boycott and hijrah are three. That a person, he boycotts a place, or he makes hijrah, migrates from a place, and we just did this right now. And the second is he boycotts a type of action. And the third is that he boycotts an individual. So here the Shaykh is now speaking about the second type of migration or boycotting, is that you migrate or boycott a specific action. That a person, he leaves off and keeps away from every single thing which Allah forbade, from sins and disobedience. Like the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, Al-Muslim man salim al-Muslimuna min lisanihi wa yadihi, wal-muhajir man hajara ma nahallahu anhu. That the Muslim is the one who the Muslims are safe from his tongue and is safe from his harm. Meaning the true Muslim is the one who does not harm others by way of his tongue and by way of his hand. Without right, he doesn't harm anybody. And the one who is truly making hijrah is the one who has left, boycotted, kept away from, migrated from, left every single thing which Allah forbade. That you boycott or you keep away from every single thing which Allah forbade for you, whether it's connected to the rights of Allah or the rights of the slaves of Allah Azza wa Jal. فَتَحْجُرَ السَّبَّ وَالشَّتَمْ وَالْقَتَلْ وَالْغِشْ وَأَكْلَ الْمَالِ بِالْبَاطِلِ وعقوق الوالدين وقطيعة الأرحام وكل شيء حرم الله تحجره. That the Shaykh, he says that you boycott, you keep away from every single thing. For example, cursing, speaking with foul speech, speaking with the speech of the kuffar. You got the Muslims today speaking with the N-word, whether they're African American or not, whether they're African, whether they're from Pakistan, the Arab, Afghanistan, they're white. And this is something they should leave off and not speak with. The N-word, any type of cursing, the B word, the F, whatever word is considered that, you should keep away from that. You have to keep away from that. Killing, cheating, deception, taking wealth by way of falsehood, disobedience to one's parents, cutting off family ties, boycotting brothers for personal reasons or for no reason, boycotting Salafis for advising you, because some of the people you advise them get upset. And they boycott individuals likes of these things. Cutting off ties, cutting off family ties. Every single thing which Allah forbade, you keep away from it. حتى لو أن نفسك دعتك إلى هذا وألحت عليك فاذكر أن الله حرم ذلك حتى تحجره وتبعد عنه. Even if yourself, your inner you in yourself desires this thing, calls to this thing, is urging you to commit this haram, then remind yourself that Allah forbade this thing. Remind yourself that this thing which yourself, or these whispers which are coming to you, remind yourself that Allah forbade it, and that you have to keep away from that, and that you have to distance yourself from that, and until you do so. That's number 2. Number 3, the third type, al-qism al-thalith, hijratul amil, is that you stay away from the one who's not doing the action. You keep away from the individual, boycotting the individual. فإن العامل قد تجب حجرته أحيانا. قال أهل العلم مثل الرجل المهاجر بالمعصية، مثل الرجل المجاهر بالمعصية الذي لا يبالي بها، فإنه يشرع هجره إذا كان في هجره فائدة ومصلحة. That when you boycott the individual doing the action, you boycott the individual, not the person. Then the person, it's obligatory to boycott a person at times. Again, it's obligatory to boycott a person at times. One more time. Because the people, they think that this is only something from the Sa'afiqah. Only the Sa'afiqah boycott people. Abadan. They're boycotting people of bid'ah, or people who openly commit bid'ah and sins, is from the manhaj al-salaf. Not that we water ourselves down and unite with them. Boycotting them is from our manhaj, no doubt. Ijma'at from the salaf upon this issue. Tayyib. So the Shaykh, he says, at times, it's obligatory to boycott an individual. And the people of knowledge, they say, for example, a person who openly commits sins, he doesn't care, then here it's legislated to boycott him. يعني إذا كان في هجره مصلحة وفائدة. If in boycotting this individual there's a benefit, there's a greater benefit in boycotting him than he's boycotted. There's one who openly commits sins. نعم. والمصلحة والفائدة أنه إذا هجر عرف قدر نفسه ورجع عن المعصية. That the benefit here, the benefit is that if a person is boycotted, then he knows himself now. He comes to terms with that which he's committing. It brings him back to reality of what he's actually doing. So he recants from that disobedience, that sin that he was doing. For example, a person, when he buys and sells with the people, he trades or he does business with the people, he cheats and deceives the people. So the people, they boycott him. And when they boycott him, he realizes, he regrets. So he makes tawbah and retracts that which he did, but that which he was doing. The second person, he deals with riba, interest. So the people, they find out he's dealing in riba. So they boycott him. They don't give him salam. They don't speak to him. So when he comes to terms with himself, I'm doing that which is haram. When he realizes he's being boycotted because he's taking riba, he becomes shy. He becomes aware. So he returns to that which is correct. As for the third person, who أعظمهم لا يصلي فهذا مرتد كافر والعياذ بالله يجب أن يهجر. The third one, then he's the greatest of them. I mean, his harm. He's the most harmful of them and the worst of them. He doesn't pray. That this one that doesn't pray is an apostate disbeliever. The Shaykh said, وَلِيَعْذُ بِاللَّهِ. It's obligatory that this one is boycotted. The salam is not returned to him. He is not given the salam. His da'wah, that when he invites you to wherever he invites you, then is not to be responded to, is not to be accepted. Then once he comes to terms with himself and he knows that what he's doing and he realizes, he returns back to Allah, returns to Al-Islam, انتفع بذلك, and he benefits by way of that. أما إذا كان الحجر لا يفيد ولا ينفع وهو من أجل معصية لا من أجل كفر، لأن الحجر إذا كان للكفر فإنه يحجر، والكافر المرتد يحجر على كل حال أفاد أم لم يفد، لكن صاحب المعصية التي دون الكفر إذا لم يكن في هجر مصلحة فإنه لا يحل هجره، لأن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: لا يحل لمسلم يهجر أخاه فوق 3 ليال يلتقيان فيعرض هذا ويعرض هذا وخيرهما الذي يبدأ بالسلام. The Shaykh, he says, as for the boycotting of the individual, if it doesn't benefit, doesn't produce fruits, and it's because of a sin, not because of disbelief, because boycotting when it comes to kufr, then he's boycotted. If it's to do with the kufr, disbelief, then he's boycotted. The disbeliever, the apostate disbeliever, is boycotted under all circumstances, whether it's a benefit to him or it's of no benefit to him. But the person who commits sins which are less than kufr, and so if a person commits sins less than kufr, and if boycotting this person, there's no benefit in it, then it's not permissible to boycott him. There's no benefit in it, it's not permissible to boycott him. Because the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that it's not permissible for a Muslim to boycott his brother Muslim for more than 3 days. They meet each other. This one turns away and that one turns away, and the best of them is the one who begins with the salam. The best of them is the one who begins with the salam. Hadith in Bukhari and Muslim. So it's known that sins which are less than disbelief with Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah do not take a person outside the fold of Al-Islam. فيبقى النذر بعد ذلك هل الهجر مفيد أو لا. Then a person has to look into the issue after that. Is boycotting here beneficial or is it not beneficial? If it benefits, then it's obligatory upon the person if it's gonna make a person leave off that which he's committing of sin, then he's boycotted. And the proof for that is the story of Ka'b ibn Malik, Hilal ibn Umayyah, and Murad ibn Rabi', which is gonna come later, when they remained behind from the Battle of Tabuk. Then he sallallahu alaihi wasallam boycotted them and commanded the Muslims to boycott them. However, the boycott benefited them, greatly benefited them, and they returned to Allah, or they sought refuge in Allah. وَضَاقَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ الْأَرْضُ بِمَا رَحُبَتْ. Even though the earth became restricted for them, even though the earth is vast. وَأَيْقَنُوا أَنَّ لَا مَلْجَأَ مِنَ اللَّهِ إِلَّا إِلَيْهِ. And they were certain that there's no fleeing from Allah except to Him. That there's no place to seek refuge except in Allah Azza wa Jal. And they made tawbah and Allah forgave them. So these are the types of hijrah. That you make hijrah from a place. You make hijrah from an action which is haram. And you make hijrah from a person who commits haram openly if it's going to benefit him. And if it's going to cause him to do more harm, then you don't boycott him. You still advise them, no doubt. Doesn't mean you chill with them and you hang out with them. This man drinks alcohol. You hang out with them now. No. And if it's to do with kufr, then you boycott them ala kulli hal. However, before I end it, I want to add to this. When it comes to boycott, a benefit from Shaykh Rabi ibn Hadi al-Madkhali. The Shaykh Rabi, and it's not that long, the Shaykh Rabi was asked. He was asked about a doubt that the people they bring up, that they say that when the people, they categorize boycotting the people into two categories, waqa'i wa ta'dibi. That you boycott the people to protect yourself, and you boycott the people of bid'ah or the person of innovation as a form of punishment to him, at-ta'dibi. So you're boycotting an individual for two reasons, one or two reasons, or both. To protect yourself from the doubts that he comes with, because some of the people, they come with the speech and they say, see, so if me, son, if they come out with audios and they say, well, boycott Mufti Munir is not going to benefit him, so sit with him and advise him. No, it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that, Habibi. That it means here. Now, the other categories too. That boycotting an individual, as in this doubt, the Shaykh he's asked that when the people, they categorize boycott into waqa'i wa ta'dibi as a form of protection, and you're protecting yourself, or to punish the individual who you're boycotting, they say there's no proof for this from the Kitab and the Sunnah. They say most of the texts of the Kitab and the Sunnah are about boycotting people to punish them. Like we just heard from Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen. And they say, some of the people that come with this doubt, they say that boycotting is not right in our time today. It's not suitable for this time. Because if you boycott the individual, for innovation, then perhaps you boycotting him will lead to him joining Ahlul Bid'ah. If you boycott him, perhaps it will lead this person to joining Ahlul Bid'ah outright. But if you had stayed with him, perhaps he'll return back to the Sunnah. That's what the people they say. And the question continues. As for boycotting, hajar wiqa'i, as a form of protection, when you protect yourself, then there's no proof for this. There's no authentic proof from this for this from the Sunnah of Mustafa alayhi salatu wasalam, nor from his companions. And they claim, and these are what the people they claim, all the texts which have come from the Salaf, such as Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ahmad, Al-Awza'i, and other than them, then they're all weak and not authentic. So then he asked, what shall reply to this doubt? Ya Shaykh. So this is a common doubt which we hear today when it comes to boycotting. Right? This is a simple answer which is sufficient for the one looking for the truth. And there are deeper answers the Shaykh he gives in other places, and other mashayikh they bring. It's a simple answer, inshallah, which clarifies the truth from an alim who is well grounded in the science here. That the Shaykh, he says, Shaykh Rabi, Hafidhullah Ta'ala, هذا كذب على الله وعلى رسوله وعلى تاريخ الأمة الإسلامية وأئمتها. That this is a lie. This is a lie upon Allah Azza wa Jal. This is a lie upon His Messenger. And this is a lie upon the Islamic Ummah, the history of the Islamic Ummah and their A'immah, their Imams. He said they're boycotting somebody. Al-wiqa'i wal-hajar al-ta'dibi. Al-hajar, al-wiqa'i wal-hajar al-ta'dibi. Kulluhu waridun walhamdulillah. He says for boycotting individuals to protect yourself and boycotting to punish them, then all of these have proofs. The hadith, the proofs have come for them. Alhamdulillah. And the hadith which was mentioned in the ayah, what is that about? And he mentioned the ayah earlier. For example, hajrun wiqa'i, boycotting people to protect yourself. It's not always to punish the person just for that. Rather, at times, you have to boycott people, especially the common Muslim, the common Salafi, has to protect himself from the doubts of the people who cast doubts. From the Khawarij, from the Hizbiyun, he has to protect himself. And he proof. The Shaykh, he brings a hadith. فَإِذَا رَأَيْتُمُ الَّذِينَ سَمَّ اللَّهُ فَاحْذَرُوهُم. So if you see those who Allah has named, those who come with the unclear verses of the Quran, if you see these people, then be warned of them. Allah has named them. Hadith which is sahih. The Shaykh, he says, what is this except boycotting an individual to protect yourself? And at the same time, this is punishing them too. And you protect yourself, وَقَائِ تَتَّقِ شَرَّهُ, that you protect yourself from the evil of this individual. And at the same time, you're punishing him. Perhaps that'll make him make tawbah. That when he sees Ahlul Sunnah, when he sees the way Ahlul Sunnah are treating him, the scorn of Ahlul Sunnah to him, and the Ahlul Sunnah are fleeing from him, which will perhaps force him to return back to the truth. The Shaykh, he says, first and foremost, this is punishing him. And this is protecting yourself from him. أولا وقاء من شره وثانيا تأديبا له يحمله إلى العودة إلى الجادة. So first of all, here you're protecting yourself from his evil. And number two, you're punishing him, that perhaps this punishment that you're giving to him by boycotting him will make him return back to that which is correct. Likewise, the statement of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in which he said, the example of the righteous companion and the evil companion is like the one who sells misk, perfume, and the one who blows in the blacksmith's bellows. The one who sells misk, perhaps he'll give you something pleasant, or you'll smell something good from him, or you'll buy something from him which is pleasant and good. But either way it goes, by you sitting with the righteous, by you just merely sitting with the righteous people, you're going to benefit from them ala kulli hal. You're going to take some kind of profit, some type of benefit from them. However, at the same time, in sitting with the people of evil, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he mentioned, either you're going to burn your clothes or you're going to smell something foul. Meaning, this is a warning. This is a warning that you have to be warned. Protect yourselves. Protect yourselves from this individual. Because by you sitting with him, you're going to smell that foul stench of hizbiyah or bid'ah. Or you're going to get burnt by it. Some harm is going to come your way. Either way it goes. So protect yourself. ولكن هؤلاء, the Shaykh says, لا يفهمون. But they don't understand. Allah has blinded their insight, like Allah says in the Quran, إنها لا تعمى الأبصار ولكن تعمى القلوب التي في الصدور. That indeed it does not blinden the sight, but rather it blinds the hearts which is inside the chest, inside the breast. The Shaykh, he says, the speech of the Salaf, when they used to individually, when they used to specify individuals, such as Amr ibn Ubayd, or Jahm ibn Safwan, or Bishr al-Marisi, they used to name them and warn against them. They used to name, you can call it, protecting yourself from their harm. Call it whatever you want. The Shaykh, call it whatever you want. Call it punishing them. Call it protecting yourself. These type of things and these people that come with these doubts, and the Shaykh, he says, يَتَلَاعَبُونَ فِيهَا. لصرف الناس عن المنهج السلفي واحترامه. نعم. Wallah, it's excellent point here. What they do is they play around with the text. They play around with the classifications. They play around with the terminology in order to take the people away from the manhaj al-salafi and take the people away from respecting the manhaj al-salafi, honoring it. And they take the people away when they play with the terminology from al-wala wal-bara. Al-wala wal-bara. So the Shaykh, he says, another doubt that they come with, and inshallah is going to end here. Another doubt they come with, and this is common, especially now. We heard this a lot recently. إن الحجر لا يصلح في هذا العصر. That when they say that boycotting is not correct, it's not suitable for our times. The Shaykh, he says, قولوا لهم هل نسخت شريعة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. He says, say to these people that say this, has the Sharia of Muhammad been abrogated sallallahu alayhi wasallam? Has the legislation of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam been abrogated? We brought a few proofs for boycotting. Has it been abrogated? No. What's the difference between this speech here and the speech when the people, they say that the hakimiyya, the rulership of Allah, is not suitable for our times? Meaning Allah's ahkam, Allah's rulings, Allah's sharia to be applied is not suitable in our times. What's the difference between the two? Meaning the hudud, the punishments are not suitable for our times. The proper hijab is not suitable for our time. These type of kalam that they come with. What's the difference between saying this and between that? When they come and they say that hukm bil Islam la yasluh, that ruling by Islam in our time is not suitable. What's the difference now? The difference between this and between that? This kalamun batil. This is false speech. And you can find this in Shaykh Rabi's الردود المنهجية على بعض الشبه الحزبية. That these are the doubts of the Hizbiyun. I know a Muslim that some of the people, they come with the speech of Shaykh Al-Hanbalī rahmatullahi alayh, where Shaykh Al-Hanbalī speaks about boycott not being applied in our times. However, Shaykh Al-Hanbalī's speech is to be taken in its context and is to be explained by the scholars of Ahl Sunnah. And you can go back to the speech of Shaykh Ubayd al-Jabi, explains it. And likewise the speech of Shaykh Abdul Aziz al-Bur'i al-Dhannim will explain it. Not as the people, the Hizbiyun, they come and they say you can sit with anybody. Look what Shaykh Al-Hanbalī said, and khalas. They run with it and they sit with everybody and anybody and walk down their manhaj to the point where you cannot differentiate between him and a watered down da'i, a super watered down caller to liberalism or ikhwanism, or a caller, for example, who defends apostates, a caller who praises the Brelvis, a caller who praises the extreme Sufis such as Hamza Yusuf and praises his works, his books that he translated, because he turned his back upon the usul of the Salafi manhaj for the kalam which is can be taken this way and that way of one scholar, and left the speech of all the other scholars, or left all the other speech that he come with, because this specific speech went alongside his desires, as the people of bid'ah, they've done in the past, they do now, and they'll always do, because they have nothing with them except doubts. Wa sallallahu sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.